In this video, I'm going to share on why being an employee is not for me and why it might not be for you. So a little bit myself, my name is Haris and I am the founder of edugrow.org, where I help tutors to grow their business, and it's not for me and maybe it's not for you. So number one, this sentence, this thought, oh, this is not my company, right? So to just like explain a little bit more, I am a person who have a lot of suggestions, a lot of improvement, a lot of ideas to genuinely improve the business. Whether I was working part-time, whether I was a freelancer, whether I was being a full-time employee, I really had that mindset. I was like, I have this idea, I think it can improve, right? And the thing is that, of course, ideas are ideas, and the thing is, I want to execute on the ideas. So I do seek out opportunities for me to implement the ideas that I have, and I do take responsibilities on the failure or the success of the ideas that I have as well. And you know, because ideas are ideas, the only thing that will make it successful is through the execution. And a lot of times, sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. And for me, I realize is that the execution of the ideas helps you to learn a lot faster in terms of what are the things that works and what are the things that doesn't. And that has, has made, sometimes my ideas actually help and sometimes it doesn't, and that's fine because that's part of learning. So I realize as an employee, right, the chances of me implementing my own ideas is low to none, because number one, it's not my position. So as a software developer back then, I had ideas about the product, which is a physical product, not the tech product. And the thing is that I was hired as a software developer, and even if I want to chime in the ideas, the person who's going to implement the ideas or say, all right, let's implement this idea, it's not me. It is the founders or the boss or the CEO of the company, right? So essentially, that is something that I always have that in my mind, because like, oh my God, all right, it's not my company. So in essence, like, I don't feel motivated because I don't have the freedom to execute the ideas that I have. So in a way, there was a aha or kind of sad aha moment that eventually made me, okay, actually I think it's better for me to start my own, because I don't feel happy working at a job that I don't have the control or creative control in terms of executing my ideas, suggestions, or improvements. There are times that I did have these opportunities to actually implement my suggestions or improvements, but the thing is that I realized that I want to, later on I will share, I want to have the whole control of the company rather than the ideas itself. Okay, but later I'll share a bit about that, right? So number two, when I was working as as a freelancer or even running my own thing that wasn't doing so well, I never had a thought of applying for a job even though I had $1,000 in my bank, right? So the thought of that never existed in my mind. For me, it's like, okay, let me find how we can make more money, all that. So I never really had like, or even if I wasn't doing so well, right, I never really had a thought of like, okay, maybe I should get a job, right? Because for me, it's like, the benefit of running my own thing is the creative freedom of doing what I want to do and the direction of the company. Later on, I will share a bit about that as well. And the thing is that I really didn't want to go back to a job, right? Unless, I really didn't want to. So that is something that I think really, when I reflected back, I was like, actually I was happier not doing a full-time job, right? And the stress, because everything is stressful. Whether you're an employee, you have your job stress. Whether you're running your own business, you have a stress of getting revenue in. Freelancer, you have a stress because if you don't have jobs, you don't earn money, right? So all of this stress is, in a way, you have stress. But what kind of stress do you prefer? And for me, I prefer the business stress, getting revenue, right? Really stressing out, okay, how am I going to do the sales and marketing to get more revenue in? So that's something that I realized that I like to do. And never once I really wanted to apply for a job, right? Even my previous job in Singapore as the head of operations, I never applied, right? Eventually, it's just like, okay, yeah, I see that there's a huge potential for, your business. Let me join in and help you grow this company. So eventually, in a way, I created my own job in a sense, kind of, right? And number three, I think that's something that I realized as well of what I really want in, like, as a person in my career, is that I want to have control in these three things: culture, team, and direction. So even though I was working as the head of operations, where I in a way have some say in culture, team, and also the direction of the company, I realized I don't want some control, I want full control, right? Because as head of operations, I don't really have full control of like the direction of the company, right? And at the same time, I am also motivated to find the right people and great people around me. So sometimes for me, I just like want to be, really be part of that, because I really like to create a space where I'm with people that I respect, admire, and we can work together towards the goal that we want to achieve, right? So I want to have the right culture in place. So for me, the values, so culture, it's a fluffy thing, but in essence, it's like, what are the behaviors that you are looking for, that you accept in a team, right? And the behavior that I really like is how someone improves, right? So meaning that how fast or how much they have the sense of, I think we can do better in their mind, right? And because that is me as a person. Maybe I am, thinking that differently, but for me, it's just that, like, when I see something, I would never be happy because there's something to always improve on, right? So that is something that hopefully I can build in the culture of the company that I'm trying to build over here, because like I've seen technology has, made people a little bit more redundant, meaning that they won't have a job because they don't really adapt to improve, right? Because if you see right now in the IT space, the technology space, there are robots, human robots. And the thing is that if you don't seek the mindset of, okay, let me improve, maybe I learn, coding skills, technical skills, or skills that maybe robots cannot replace, then maybe I will still have a job, right? And that was always my mindset in terms of like not finding a job, but essentially just improving along the way, right? For me, from being a coder to now being the head of operations, I had to learn and I had to improve myself. And as a person who improves yourself, you tend to be different like the older you get, because you are different. You will learn, you will feel like shit because you are deficient in whatever skills you have, and then you get better, and then that's where like you are someone that, like, for me, I respect. Okay, so at the same time, to have control in the culture, hiring the team, and also the more important part for me is the direction of the company. Essentially, there is a job of the CEO. So I didn't have the job of the CEO, and that's where like I feel that that's why I wasn't really happy, because I wasn't in control, right? And which is fine, because that is the nature of everything, right? To be a CEO, there's only two ways you can be. Number one is you work your way up, right? And prove yourself, right? So if you were to see like the Google CEO, I forgot his name, but essentially he worked from being an engineer to being a CEO, and that's a whole beast, right? A whole challenge to actually go through it, and that's very tough, right? And respect to him, because he did it, right? And like for me, I tried, and the thing is that I don't think that I want to go through that stress, because you really need to learn a whole new set of skills. Number one, I think in Google, in a way you have like, not say office politics, but you need to maneuver a big organization. So that's one. So for me, it's like I wasn't working in a big organization, but I was working in a small company. But at the same time, for me, it's like I rather start my own thing since I'm young, and I just wanna do it as fast as possible. So that's why I didn't succeed. Mainly I suck, right? So for me, it's just skill deficiency and something that I want to do it quickly. So I'm a bit impatient. So that's why I want to start my own. Of course, you have more control. You definitely will be the CEO of the company of the company that you start, right? But essentially, you have to do everything which I'm fine, because I have to. When you start a company, sales and marketing is super important. So that's where like I am deficient in it. I'm not good at it. So I'm going to learn along the way, right? And start my own, and that's what I'm doing right now, right? So for me, I like that control, and I can in a way control like the culture, the direction of the company, whether we are fully remote, whether we are hybrid, whether fully physical. Like I want to have that full control first, and then later on, I want to hire the people that I trust to run the company. And for me, it's just I want to just be part of the team that I'm proud of. So essentially that's my goal, right? So for now, I'm okay because financially I'm able to survive, and then let me just work my way to from 0 to 1. Okay. So the thing is that now you have a bit of sense of like what I think the 3 signs that employee is not for me. Maybe you tell yourself, okay, I listen to Haris, should I quit my job? So I would say, right, it depends on these 3 questions, right? So before I tell you about the questions, right, I recommend for you to think about other factors that you have to make the jump from, most of the time quitting your job or starting your own. So for me, you are responsible for your own decisions. Like if you blame me because you took the risk and it failed, right, then that means you haven't learned, the basic principle of life, that everything is your fault. If you blame other things, everything. Like the thing is that, right, if you blame other people for whatever like failure you have, like business itself, right, is a vehicle of responsibility. If the business is not doing well and you started it, it's your fault. If your employee is not doing their work, it's your fault because you didn't train, you didn't manage properly. If someone quit in a way, I mean, of course, it might be someone else, it might be the person who quit fault, but if there are times where you can, retain that person, then it's your fault, right? So everything in the business is your fault. So if you don't want to have to take that responsibility, that's why earlier in the slides I said I'm okay taking responsibility for failure success. That's I feel like a need in terms of business, because once it becomes like successful where you hire people, then everything that they do is your fault, because you might not train them well, you might not manage them well, you might not make them better, and that is also your fault, right? So these are things that you need to know about. Like business itself, it's a vehicle, but not managed properly, you're going to be a prison of that vehicle, and that's something that I think might also not be the best for anyone, right? So these are things that you need to consider. Okay, so if you're okay taking responsibility, because business is a long journey, it's going to be hard, then the 3 questions to maybe make the jump is, number 1, do you have enough money to survive? When I say survive, most of the time for me, it's mainly food, and then the rest of like rental and bills, I will just live with my parents and I don't have to worry about that. So that is something that I take note of. Then at the same time also, for me, I also set some amount of money to also go for my hobbies, which are rock climbing, because I realized back when I was doing business and freelance, I was stressed, and the thing that really helped me de-stress was hobbies, and that's something that I really appreciate, and I would invest money in it as well. So that's like a good investment for me, right? So calculate by yourself how much do you need, and really if you really want to do it, you need money to survive. I say 1 to 2 years because that's roughly around the time that I feel that you might be able to have a stable business, right? You might take longer, but for me this is usually for bootstrap business where you don't have any external funding. So number 2 is that, have you tried working on your own projects? Because for people who have not tried taking the jump, then have you tried working on your own projects, and do you feel happier doing your own projects versus your current job? If so, then good, right? Because essentially a business is self-managed. You need to manage yourself, and the best way is to create your own project. For me, I was creating my own projects even after work. So I was working from 9 to 5, and then after that I will do my own thing from 5 to 10, for example. So for me, I already have that work ethic and like motivation to work on my own. So for me, I already have that down, right? And then for you, if you have not started, then you try it on your own, and if you don't think that's something that you like to do, maybe explore a little bit more. But genuinely, if you like doing your own projects and it makes you happier than your current job, then that's something you need to consider. Lastly, are you okay taking the risk? Because business is high risk, high responsibility, but also the reward if successful, which is a small chance, will be very high, because you are creating a vehicle, meaning that if you create a vehicle that can manage by themselves, that's amazing, and you can also sell off that vehicle or that business if you want to move on to something else, right? And I think for me, the greatest benefit of running your own business is the creative freedom of doing things, right? Whether you want to be in charge of sales or marketing and operations. Like for me, I want to really hire the best people, the team, and really make them happy and just like make the business. Because if you train and make the people running the business will improve, right? If you improve the people in the business improve, because business is run by people. Okay, but going back, are you okay taking the risk? Because you haven't started yet, buy at 0, right? From 0 to 1, are you okay taking the risk, right? For me, I'm a risk taker, right? That's very obvious because I jumped from learning psychology to being a software developer, right? So I really took risks, and then I took the risk also to quit my job, and I also took the risk also to join a company. Joining a company is also a risk, right? But lower risk. But either way, these are things that you need to think about whether you're okay taking a risk. Number one, not having enough money, and also starting your own thing as well. All right. So for me, I would say that if everything is yes, then I recommend you to just start. And at the same time, a little bit of caveat: the younger you are, the less responsibilities you have, the better for you to jump. Because when you get older, you have more responsibilities, like maybe you are getting married, maybe you have kids, maybe you need to take care of your parents. So that is where age plays, actually I feel is a bit of a factor. But if you are a person like me, where I am generally someone who honestly have the mindset that what you have one life, just go for it, because there are people who are successful at 30, 40, 50, 60. So that's the thing that you kind of need to think of. But at the same time, I understand the burden of responsibilities in your head in terms of how you are in terms of your situation, right? So like I say, if you're the younger you are, you should risk, the higher risk you should go, right? You should go all out. Then later on in life, maybe you want to slow down a bit. That's where like you have the business vehicle to maybe not work as much, or maybe sell it off so that you can focus more on the things that you care more about, like your family and whatnot as well. All right. So personally for me, just to share a bit, like I really had no regrets doing my own thing, and I was really happier, because even though I was stressed on running my own thing, and I'm happy with the stress that I need to go through. Then essentially I have more control. Even though I wasn't successful, right? Like legit, I wasn't successful. I wasn't earning a lot of money, right? Because I had a skill deficiency, and that's why, because I learned during that time. I mean, if I were to go back, I'll probably hire a business coach, because the weird part, to be a software developer, I had to go through 3 months of training. But to be a business person, I never like hired anyone or go through a business course or whatever, right, to actually run my business. So, I'll probably do that, and I am doing that in probably next month actually, to hire a business coach to really make me focus on what is working and really go for it. And you would ask, does that mean I regretted working for someone? Actually, no, because working for a company, you will learn what makes a good and bad company, or what are different things that is good, or what are the things that is bad for a company, and how you can improve. So in a way, you are learning from the employment that you are in. And I think the company is fine, because they are paying you for you to do your job. And sometimes if you are in a role where you need to take risk in a sense of doing something new, then that's where they are okay to see what's the results of your ideas, right? So in a sense, you do know how a company looks like that is successful and not successful. For me, I think one great thing about me is that I only joined small companies, and it's easy for me to actually now have a better sense of how to start a small business, because most of the employment that I had was with small businesses, or when I was a freelancer, it was a small business. So I roughly know how things work. Versus if you are from a corporate or big company, right, it's going to be hard for you to start something small, because you might be used to a corporate kind of culture where everything is already processified, everything you need to follow the order, the hierarchy, office politics, all of that. So maybe an adjustment period, but I think if you like the freedom, I think working on your own is great as well. And you learn also from the mistakes in your previous employment as well. And lastly, for me, I learned the skills to operate and improve the business, which I think really helped me in terms of how I now should run my own business and also start my own as well. So for me, it's like I took the opportunity to be the head of operation because, you know, I couldn't find that kind of job anywhere else, right? So I think that is something that I had no regrets with. So to just summarize everything, right, to be honest, you only have one life, right? If you're living for someone, if you're okay with it, nothing wrong. But for me, it's just you have one life. There's no like second life waiting for you, to be honest. So like, what's the worst that can happen? Are you gonna die? If you're not gonna die, then the only thing that you're facing is just things that you should ignore, in a way, right? Your parents or your friends saying, oh, you shouldn't do it, like, it's your life. You only have one life. So, you know, do it full force. And the thing is that you need to know that, for me, I'm scared of death, right? I might die tomorrow, and that is like a factual thing. Like, there's a percentage that I might die tomorrow. And the thing is that, are you gonna regret if you did what you did today, right? So for me, I am not, because I literally have control of what my decisions are. And the freeing thing is that everything is my fault, and that's the most freeing part. Because bad things happen, it's my fault. I'm happy because I had that creative freedom. Good things happen to me is because I have the creative freedom. I decided that that happened as well. Alright, so that's it about me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want more this kind of video, subscribe down below. And all the best to you guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.